Hi, Periscopers. This is Monica A. Coleman, and I am the author of the forthcoming book, Bipolar Faith, A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. And I am doing this Periscope, which I'm calling Bipolar Faith, as a way to talk about and answer the question I get asked the most often, which is the question I get asked more than anything else is, what are my spiritual practices, or how do I live with, and what are the tools I use to live with a depressive condition and to have faith in the midst of that? So thank you for joining us, Crystal, Sean, and thank you who joined us earlier. I didn't quite catch your name. And so today I'm talking a little bit about anxiety. Because one way a lot of people experience mania, and even if you just have a unipolar depression, is with a bit of anxiety. And thank you for joining us, Tim Saw 161. And I say this not as a clinician, but just as a person who's lived with anxiety at different points. And I don't have particularly crippling anxiety. There have been times when I have been more anxious than others. And I've even had medication for that, which was helpful for the anxiety, but at the time not so helpful for doing anything else in life. Thank you for joining us, SMU 2000. Thank you. But I was recently talking with a friend who was feeling really anxious. It's like, where is this anxiety coming from? I know I'm not really upset about things. Life is stressful, but no more stressful than usual. So what is it that's just got me edgy, and what do you do about this? And since it was a new experience for her, I did suggest that she talk to her doctor, and we just kind of talked and texted in the midst of it and talked about some ways to feel a little calmer. Thank you for joining us, Noriega 802. And, you know, I don't have really crippling anxiety. The times when I have had anxiety, thank you for joining us, met in 1971. The times I have had anxiety, I've been, oh my gosh, this is terrible. My heart just poured out for people who live with, hello, greetings from Colombia. My heart just pours out for people who live with anxiety on a regular basis, because it's really difficult. It just makes you feel edgy, and like your brain won't connect with things, and like it's hard to focus. And some of this just comes from stress. I mean, I've got daily stress that makes me anxious, and there probably is a level of anxiety I also have that I manage when I'm not in a more depressed mode. And I think I was telling my friend, I said, well, you know, I think I probably devised all these little ways of managing anxiety without thinking much about it. So I've talked earlier about exercise, and I'll keep talking about that because today was a good day. I got up and I got my workout clothes on and did my workout, and for the record, my cardio kicked my ass. I was like, I need to get in better shape. I was huffing and puffing near the end, but I did get through it, and that definitely made me feel good as I started off my day. But there are also these little things I do throughout the day. So one thing people might notice me doing is sometimes I play games on my phone, like crossword puzzles or solitaire. I grew up playing a lot of solitaire. Thank you for joining us, Cave G. And some of it's because it just kind of helps me stay calm while other things are happening. So I'm probably a natural multitasker. My mother says I always multitask, even as a kid. Sometimes I multitask because I have to get so many things done at one time. And even though these wonderful studies talk about how much more important it is to focus and do one thing at a time, and I believe them and I try, there are times when I have to multitask. And then there are times I find that I focus better if I'm doing more than one thing at a time, as odd as that sounds. So sometimes, thank you for joining us, Sharon30. Sometimes I multitask. I might just be looking a different direction when someone's talking, so I can focus on hearing them and not become distracted by their face and what their face is doing or what their body movements are doing, which works well in the academy. Somebody lectures. I don't even look up. I just take notes. There are other times when, like I said, I'll play solitaire on my phone or play crossword puzzles, which apparently are good for the brain and help to stave off Alzheimer's. But I also do it just kind of to keep busy and to kind of have an outlet for what might be some lower levels of anxiety. And if people ask, I explain I am paying attention. It just sometimes helps me to do more than one thing at a time. So that's just one thing I think I probably picked up to manage some levels of anxiety. Again, I'm all about the endorphins that you get from physical activity, and that's always helpful. But I also, like I said, sometimes just play other things and, have just small things I can do with my hands. When I was younger, I used to play piano songs on my lap while I was in class, figure them out. Things that wouldn't be disturbing to other people, but kind of help me to focus and to stay grounded in the midst of some other things. And I think that works well for having lower levels of anxiety. Now, I do think, though, that when anxiety just becomes disruptive and you feel really jittery and you can't do anything, it's great. Thank you for joining us, Arthur McTee. It's great to give a call to a doctor, to a therapist. Some things can really be altered with small levels of medication. There was a time, for example, when I got anxiety as a side effect of medication. Doesn't that suck? I was like, I'm not upset about anything. Life is great, but I'm really anxious. What's that about? And so I read that fine print you get from the pharmacy, and it said that anxiety was one of the side effects of the medication I was taking. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. So I was able to lower my dosage of that medication, and at times even got another medication to deal with the side effect of the first medication, which also kind of sucks. But together they all worked out pretty well. So there could be all types of reasons why we experience anxiety. Sometimes life is just stressful, and it would make anybody anxious. And so having some good self-care tools is helpful. Other times it might be just kind of parts of our personality. And sometimes something's really wrong that can be fixed with a little tweak here or there. So I just want to talk about that because anxiety can be a part, particularly of living with a bipolar condition or with any other kind of depressive condition. And sometimes I just talk about the cool or fun things I get to do without talking about that sometimes it can be hard, and there really are symptoms and things to manage too. So I wanted to share a little bit about that today. So again, I thank you for joining me. I'm just going to kind of pop on here maybe 5-6 minutes every day and share a little bit about my spiritual practices and the making of Bipolar Faith, which is the book that's coming out July 1. Apparently books drop now. So my book drops July 1, 2016. You can pre-order it now on Amazon if you want to. A Black Woman's Journey with Depression and Faith. If you feel like you've enjoyed this, please follow me at Rev Monica here on Periscope and use the hashtag Bipolar Faith. I'll see you all tomorrow.